Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lili Nishmasi Mimerosi Rusbas Mordechai. This is a very special day today. All those who started Shnayim Mikra of Echot Targum with us, today is a big Siyum on Chumash Bereshis. And this is the official, you can see MDY, Shnayim Mikra of Echot Targum. It finally came to Eretz Yisrael. So if you signed up, you got one of these. All donated by Merad Nakash, Shkoyach Merad. And here we have a very nice video from a 9-year-old. Here we go. You ready?
Thank you, Rabbi Eli, for inspiring me on doing the entire Sefer Bereshis with Shnai Mikveh Targum. I am 9 years old. My name is Yaakov Mordechai Folda.
9 years old. 9 years old. It's beautiful, beautiful. And here a bunch of guys from New York. Flatbush, Borough Park, Lakewood. Jack Warman from Lakewood. Maladumim. Martin Lipschitz. Yishkoyach. Rabbi Isai could still join. I don't know if we have these chumashim. No, we're out of the first batch of 500. We gave out 500.
When did you sign up?
I don't know. I didn't sign up. Moshe Nisim Kohanim. Just want to show Akarata Tov to Rav Eli Stefansky. I just started Daf Yomi at the beginning of Masechet Nedarim, and I've been consistent every day. I was attending a Shiur in Great Neck, New York at first, but switched halfway to MDY to fit my schedule. Rav Eli, it's incredible. I wanted to say thank you for everything. Attached a picture of my wife took me on a plane, learning to give the Rav Nachat. Shkoyach. And here, sent me a video of Reb Eli Mansour. It's a great motivator for Shnai Mikra. If you want to live a long life, you do Shnai Mikra. All the best, Benny Maslin, Manchester, from Megillah Daf Beis. We have another guy here from Megillah Daf Beis. We're going to get there in a second. Maybe not, that's Tainus. Tainus Daf Beis. Where's he from? Tainus. The Daf doesn't care if you're tired. The Daf doesn't care that you're lazy. The Daf pushes you at 5:30 a.m. to challenge yourself, to prove the one constant in your life, to give you the consistency you need to succeed in life, to bond you in intellectual spirit with hundreds of thousands of peers. Do you do the Daf? There's a LinkedIn post from Joel Wall, a fellow MDYer, sent in by Isaac Fink. Rabbi Isai, my name is Yitzchak. I got, Yosef, how many of these videos did you get?
Back to back, like maybe
10. 10 people sent this in, so all 10 of you, Yishkoyach, for sending this in. My name is Yitzchak Friedman, a chussid from Borough Park, who listens to this year every day. I look forward to it. I was by an event last night for sick kids to be mesameach them with the organization Tanzers. When they played the Good Morning, the smile that was seen on the kids was unbelievable. Rabbi Eli, keep it up. Here is the video. It's part of the music, I guess. He put it in his keyboard. You know what? I think we should show them how it's done. That's Shvach. Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Shvach. Okay. Both of my parents were nifter. I asked the question yesterday. Marvin Diamond sponsored twice yesterday. He said, this is incredible. Both of my parents were nifter, Yud-based Teves, 22 years apart. Survivors of the Shoah, B'alei Chesed from Baltimore, Israel. Baruch Hashem, my many grandchildren, great-grandchildren. See you in Miami. And finally, we have a very special guest with us from Motsei, New York, Shmari Zellengold, and his 12-year-old son, Moshe Yehuda. Shalom Aleichem, Moshe Yehuda. I understand we're doing a big Suda here, Motsei Shabbos. Lava Malka. The oil is invited. I don't know if we can fit them all. Sushi. What else are we serving? Gevaldik stuff. Okay. That's enough. Sushi is enough. Around 10 months ago, I presented MDY edition Titus Gemara to your father and inscribed Hotef in a Shas. And he took it seriously. It's 10 months later, and you're here with your father being seen in this conference of Shabbos. Everyone is invited to full suit the conference of Shabbos. Wish Yehuda can't wait to participate in this upcoming Siyum. May continue to finish Masechta after Masechta. Mazel Tov. We'll see you Motsei Shabbos. The whole oil right here. And this is straight out of Art Scroll. B'kitzur, you get the idea. It's without the logo before, and then you get the logo. There's a gold-plated logo. This guy has a shiler, a boy's side. Does anybody have a good teres? Men, do you have a teres for this? In the Gemara Menachos Daf Kuf Zayin, it says that the roof of the Heichal had kalya oirev, spikes to stop the pigeons to sit on the roof. So we see that it helps even for Israeli pigeons. Regards, Shai Goldschmidt, Manchester. I don't know where you got pigeons from. It's kalya oirev, ravens. The spikes help for ravens, doesn't help for pigeons. Pigeons just keep on going back. They're very, very stubborn.
Did you ever find a raven on yours?
Never.
Like what? The spikes what?
The spikes worked against ravens, correct. Kalya oirev, not pigeons. But who else do we have? Oh, a bunch of guests. What's your name, Tzaddik? From Shai Rosenthal? East Meadow. I'm supposed to know where that is, right? I know. Okay, good. And who are the guys next to you? Nevish.
And Shimon.
Morning, Chiminsku. Shalom Aleichem. What else? Oh, we have Nachman Seltz's son-in-law. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Naftali Brahman, the son of the Shiur Brahman. Okay, who else? Have anybody else? Oh, Shalom Aleichem. Dan Vogel from Wesley Hills. President of?
Yonah Rothman sent me here. President of...
Yonah Rothman, the famous Yonah Rothman. Shkoyach for coming. That's it? Shmach HaMais today. It's raining. Oh, you're not a guest. We have Taki, and who's next to Taki?
Mayor Kovacs.
I know you. Mayor Kovacs. Okay, Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Real quickly, we're going to learn about Kol HaNederes, Aldas Baal HaNederes. When a woman makes a neder, she does it dependent on her husband. So what if this particular woman is noider with somebody else in mind? She says, I don't care about my husband, he's a meshugana, I want to be noider Aldas Ruve. Can that other person be made for the neder? Or it's only a halacha when it comes to a father or a husband? And what if she says mefurish? Okay, we'll see. The second question is pretty much the first, but we'll see a little bit of an afgemina. Now, the koil is sponsored by Anonymous from Lakewood, who made it into the song. The Masechta, I heard it last night. The Masechta is Ein Sgula K'Torah Tomechia K'iYakov Ya'alak. Lili Nishmat Moshe ben Camille, and sponsored in honor of the Loindim of MDY by Art and Tradition. Art. The sponsor of the art of this month, something completely separate, is for complete refuah for Chaim Tzvi ben Leah. And by the way, the Siyumim are starting to come online. So mdysiyum.com for the RBS Siyum, the Brooklyn Siyum, and the Motsei Siyum. And of course, Miami Siyum. Over 400 people registered for Miami Siyum. It's incredible. And that doesn't include all the people that I know that none of us registered yet. So, Yosef, you registered? Shema. VIP? Okay. No, because if you don't go VIP, nobody's going to think you're me. You have to sit in a specific table. I'll sit in your table, switch. Okay.
If someone has a local CEO, site, they
Yeah.
can send an email so we can get
If somebody's doing a local siyum, send it in. All right. Rabbis, here we go. We're in the middle of a sugya here. We stopped in the middle of a question, but Rav Chama wants to know, Ryan Bar Chama, what happens if a husband is mefer all his wife's nedarim without even knowing what they are? You never heard them. He says, I'm mefer neder. Doesn't work. Does he have to know what they are or not? It says in the pasuk Shama Isha, her husband heard them. Is it dafka, or maybe it's normal for a husband to know about them? The Torah is just talking listen to Bnei Adam. So we started like this. 7 lines from the bottom. Toshma. If somebody tells an agent, I'm Beis, Amud Beis, 7 lines from the bottom. I'm making you in charge of my wife. When I'm gone, I want it to be mufer. Vehefer law, and the apotropos was mefer. Yacha, you mufarim, I would think that he has the ability to be mefer. Talmud loymar, Isha yikimeno v'isha yifereno. The husband has to be mekayim the nether. The husband has to be made for the nether. Either hafara akama, whether he's saying that it's annulled or it's mekuyim, it's a good nether. It's only the husband, nobody else. Divrei Rabbi Shaya, Rabbi Yoshia. Only Rabbi Yonasan. So Rabbi Yonasan argues. He says, "Matzinu chal ha'Torah kula shluchai shel adam k'moisai." Since we already know this halacha that if you appoint an agent, a shliach, he's literally like you. Somebody sent in another Maisa, literally mimicking the Maisa I said yesterday. It was about the Chavetz Chaim, Reb Shimon Shkop. B'kitzur, people want to be like the Gadol that sent them. Shliach Shalom K'moisai. And then we had, here, we'll do this thing again because Nachman Seltzer's son-in-law is here, so we'll show it to him. He didn't see this yet, right? He didn't see this. It's before your times. This is a game called Mario. You don't know about the stuff, but here goes. But there's a few chidushim here, Rabbi. Say, pay attention to the chidushim. Oh, here are the chidushim. Here's the ring. It falls. It's another chidush. He grabs the ring. Oh, where is he? He's not even here. Oh, that's why he's so quiet. You see Dr. Factor flying through because he always comes through like in some sort of sack or something. And then, and Yosef added the sound, not in this one. Sorry. Yeah, it's much better with the sound. He gives her the ring. And Shalom HaYisrael. Okay. Weiter. So we have the idea of Shlich Shalom K'moisoi. Reb Chaim Kanievsky used to ask the Shasidin, the Shasidin, the guys that I heard. So they went to him a bunch of times. Every time he went to them, the Belz Chassid told me you would ask them, where does it say in the Mishnah anywhere in Shas the concept of Shlich Shalom K'moisoi? And basically, it's a very good. You watch the video. Oh. The Shkoilo is trying to show off his powers here. His Yediyah B'Shas. It is in Brachas. No, we're in Brachas. What? Lamed Daled. Very good. Wow. I think, I don't even know myself, even though I wrote it down here. Lamed Daled. It is Lamed Daled. We got Choshev Yidin here. So, it's not just a bunch of jokers. It's in this. We got people no Shas over here. Brachas of Lamed Daled. Anyway, so it says in Brachas of Lamed Daled that a shliach tzibur, if he makes mistakes, it reflects on the whole tzibur. Shliach shalom k'moisa. Okay, that's the only place in Shas that says it in the Mishnah. So the Gemara is asking at the end of the day, the only reason why Rabbi Yoshia argues over here, Xeris HaKosov, there's a special that always said, Yishoy Yikimeno, Yishoy Fereno. Ava the Kuli Alma, Shluche Shaladam, Kamoisai. How can you do Shluche Shalom Kamoisai? Valai Shemi Ale. How could the agent, the Shliach, do Farah if the husband didn't hear and the husband has to hear? So the Ran brings a whole sugya in Nazir, we're going to see it. We'll say it later. But the bottom line is, the Ran says that why can't you just say that the shliach heard for the husband? The shliach heard for the husband. He's a shluch, so he heard for the husband. But the answer is you can't appoint the shliach for something that you yourself can't do. So if right now you can't do something, let's say you can't be mekadesh or eishesish, so you can't appoint a shliach to be mekadesh eishesish tomorrow. So I made the same thing over here. Since the husband himself didn't hear, he can't appoint somebody to do something that he can't do right now. Fine. Zogt the Gemara. By the way, Stam, this is as a side point. It seems from the Gemara that if shliach shalom kamoisei works, then it would be okay. We have exeris of shliach shalom kamoisei doesn't work. In the whole Torah, shluch shalom kamoisei works. Over here, it doesn't work. Why? Because we have a pasuk. But let's say it does work. So it works. How could it work if the husband didn't hear? You have to hear. So it's a right. You don't have to hear the neder. You could just go ahead and be mefer without hearing Nedarim. I'm just saying this, throwing this out. There are people here at Yisrael that don't vote. But what they do is sometimes they'll give their Tudat Zahut, their passport, to other people to vote for them. What's their svara? They hold, if it's a mitzvah, shlucha shalom k'moisai. So I didn't do an avera, I didn't break any laws. He's mamish like me. And if it's an avera to vote in this country, And shliach l'dvar avera. So Manashach, they're okay. Va'afilu Rabbi Yosef le'ka'amar el b'shum d'gzeres ha'kosavu. Isha yikim out of Yishem. V'lishmi'elo, top of Ein Gimel Amud Aleph. Says the Gemara, Chenami d'omar lei. L'chi shamano meifer lo. So, the husband, like we said yesterday, the husband says, listen, I want you to be in charge, and you'll be in charge. As soon as I come home and I hear the neder, I'll be made for it. And the shliach says the same thing to the woman. He says, I'm being made for you in Nedarim until your husband comes home. So that's Gemara, the obvious question. So then what did he gain by appointing somebody? What do I need a shliach? The shliach is there. I'm going to Chutzlars. The Gemara says he went on a trip. He appointed a apotropos to take care of his wife. One of the things he's supposed to do is get rid of an Nedarim. What good is it? Oh, I'm going to appoint an apotropos. He can feed my wife the day I come home from my trip. Shkoyach. You want to do things when he's away. He didn't gain anything. Says the Gemara, Sovar Dumo Mitridno. Okay. At the end of the day, we're the same thing, same story that we said yesterday. People, he comes home from a trip, he's busy giving out the gifts. As he's doing it, somebody says, hey, by the way, your wife made a neder. Okay, I'll take care of it later. So he wants to make sure that he doesn't forget, but he has to hear it. We don't have a raya from here because at the end of the day, it could be he needs to hear the neder, and the reason why he appointed an apotropos, so he doesn't forget. Okay. The only shaila is,
for another week, is the time extended to the statute of limitations for 1 day for the week after?
No. Why? There's no limit. When he hears, that's when the Torah says when he hears. It doesn't say when he has to hear. Anytime he hears, 10 years later, it starts. Just the Ram brings the Gemara Nazir, and we're going to learn this Gemara Nazir when? In 30 days. We're going to be in Nazir already. Why can't we said the other day, a person can make a t'nai. He says, listen, when I hear it, it should become mufa right away. I don't need the apotropos to be mefer. I'm going to annul it today. I'm being mefer your neder, which I'm going to hear tomorrow. And when I hear it tomorrow, it's going to become mufa retroactively today. I don't have to do a new amira and a new hafara tomorrow. Why can't we do that? So he says, because perhaps it's his own teretz, he brings the Gemara, he says perhaps he wants to make sure that he could undo what he did. In other words, maybe he wants the Nedarim to be chal. So he dumps it on the shliach, and then he could get rid of the shliach and the neder will be chal. But if he puts it on himself, he can never undo that. That's what he says. Maybe one day he wants some of the wife's Nedarim to be good Nedarim. So he can only accomplish that if he puts another person in between him and his wife, and he says, okay, you get out of the picture, and Memela, the wife's neder will be chal. But if he says, he throws out, he blurts it out, he says, any neder you ever make, when I hear should be retroactively mufar, then he'll never be able to let that neder stand. That's the Ran's pshat. Okay. New shaila, new sugya. If you're new to Nedarim, brand new sugya. Here, so if you remember in Vamis we had a cheresh. This is a pikech, and a cheresh we didn't know how to draw it. Then how do you depict somebody that can't hear and can't speak? So we did the potato head where he doesn't have a mouth, he doesn't have ears, he's holding them. However, in our case, I bedavka put it here to emphasize this is not your typical cheresh in all of Shas. All of Shas he can't hear and can't speak. He's a deaf mute. In this sugya, if he's going to be mefer, we're asking, could he be mefer? So obviously he could speak. He can speak, he just can't hear. So what's the problem? So he's not a shaita, he's a chacham. The problem is he just can't hear. And the Torah says he has to hear. That's the whole shaila. Okay. There's a lot of people in Eretz Yisrael that wanted to get out of the army. Some yeshiva guys, so they would go to the army, and the guy would start talking to them. He says, I don't hear. So they would make like loud noises next to them, nothing, they didn't move. Hoping that they get out of the army like that. So one of the oldest tricks in the book is like, you're deaf, okay, go home. Okay, go home. He gets up and goes, all right, get back here. Okay. Weiter. It's like if you're typical American, you get pulled over by a cop. I'm not telling you that you should do this, chas v'shalom. I'm not giving you an eitzes how to get out of tickets. But what you should not do is don't pretend you don't speak Hebrew. That is the worst eitzah ever. Any American that starts talking, lo medaberes ivris, they get 2 tickets. And what? And what they have like a stand. They teach it because every cop that I've seen does the same trick. They go, okay, tavidet rishayon, and then if you give him the license, then you see you speak Hebrew. What are you hacking China? You know, they have like this standard line. I already went through the whole thing in a different masechta how to do it. This is not the makam. Okay. Bottom line is, if you get pulled over, talk to them in Hebrew, but a very, very broken Hebrew. But don't pretend you don't know Hebrew. Speak to them in Hebrew. Just lower the level a little bit. Then they'll get out of the ticket. Yeah. Don't worry. The same shir as yesterday. Boy, Rami Bachama. What are you nervous about? This is your first time in shir, Mendy?
Where's Arafel?
Oh.
He's feeding him the information this week.
Wow. Could a deaf person who's not mute, could he do afara? Says the Gemara, if you hold that the husband doesn't need to hear, like we said with this shiloh we had, the first shiloh Rami Bar Chama had, Mishum the Bar Shemishmahu. At the end of the day, he could hear. He's in the parasha, he's in the mitzvah of afara. He just happened not to hear. It was a technical problem. But a person who can hear, literally can hear, one of the most famous halachas in Shas, in Menachos we learned that if the mincha, and if you were here, I did a live mincha, you have to take flour, pour oil, start mixing it. If it's more than 60 Yisraelim, the Gemara says you can't mix it. It doesn't mix well. So that's the whole question. Do you have to mix a mincha? Maybe you don't have to mix it, b'chlal. Is it Allah? The Gemara says, Reb Zera says, you don't have to mix it. It's not ma'akiv. But if you can't mix it, then it's ma'akiv. You have to be able to mix it. And anything over 60 Yisraelim, you can't mix. You physically can't mix. So therefore, it's ma'akiv. So throughout Shas, if you could do it, you feel like not doing it, then sometimes it's not ma'akiv. But if you cannot do it, then you're not in the parsha at all. If you can't hear, you're not in the parsha of Nedarim. If you could hear, you just didn't hear it, then you're okay. The mixing is ma'akiv. Or perhaps when the Torah says V'shama Isha, her husband heard, it's not you don't have to. It's just the Torah is telling you what, like we said the other day. This is normal. The husband hears about it and he knows the nether. He doesn't have to hear about it. It's just how it happens. So we have a Mefurish Braisa. V'shama Isha prat le'ishes cheresh. It comes to exclude. You have to hear. You must hear, and if you don't hear, I'm sorry, not that you have to hear. You have to be able to hear. But what about a husband that didn't hear? He's able to hear, but he didn't hear. It's possible that he could be mefer. So again, we don't have any rayas. Fine. Mendy, you remind me of a joke, rather. Actually, you remind me of 3 jokes. How many should I say? Okay, weiter. Mendy doesn't want to hear jokes. He's not in the mood, so for Mendy, we're not saying jokes. Iboilu, huh? No, it's not right. No. V'shoma isha prat leishes cheresh. So it's a raya that somebody that doesn't hear is not. But that's not our question. Rami Bar Chama's question. Yeah. You're right. Ma cheresh ma she'ofer. That it answers. The other shaila doesn't answer. Correct. This guy, yes. The question about a husband who can hear and didn't. The first question. You're right. This particular question, yes. All right. Iboilu. You know, I have to say this because it happens in my house. I always tell my wife if she doesn't hear well. She says, you don't hear well. So a guy went to the doctor and says, how do I check to see if my wife hears well. He says, stand on the other side of the house and test her. So he stands on the other side of the house, he screams out, what's for dinner? She doesn't hear anything. So he comes 10 steps. What's for dinner? Garnished. Basically, he stands right next to me and goes, what's for dinner? She says, I told you 10 times, soup, soup, soup. What are you, deaf? Okay. Right there. Iboilu. Baal Maush Yofer Lishtei Nosha B'Vasachas. I have a joke though. I'll tell you afterwards. It'll take you 10 seconds to get it, but you'll get it. Iboilu Baal Maush Yofer Lishtei Nosha B'Vasachas. What if he has two wives, and he wants to be made for both of them? It doesn't. The Ran says it could be a father to his two daughters, a husband to his two wives. He wants to do it in one shot. He says mufar l'chayin instead of l'chi. Mufar l'chayin, plural, both of you. Oisa dafka, oilav dafka. When the Torah says oisa, v'biyom shmoya isha yoni oisa, it's singular. He only has one wife. The Torah doesn't say two wives. Maybe it's dafka, maybe it's lav dafka. Omer Ravinu Toshma ein mashkin shtei soitos kachas. Could we bring a raya perhaps from a soita? A soita is a wife who the husband is chayshid her, and he tells her, don't seclude yourself with Pliny. And she goes in and she doesn't listen to her husband. There's no edim if there was anything between them, but edim that she went in there. So we give her to drink the mei soita, ma'im amarim, that has Hashem's name on it. Now we try very hard that she shouldn't drink it. We try to convince her, be moida, we don't want to erase Hashem's name in vain. So the halacha is, this guy has a big trowel on his hand, both of his wives. He's choshid both of them. He brings them both to the Beis Hamikdash. You can't have them drink from the same water. Why? Mipnei sheliba gas b'chaverta. What does that mean? That if one of them is kosher, even if the other one is puzzle, if one wife keeps on insisting, I didn't do anything, give me the water, let me drink it, the other one, who is over Navera, will just mimic her. Which is unbelievable if you think about it. The hashpa of a chaver. Yeah? You have a woman here, they tell you, if you drink this and you're over Isser, you're going to explode right in front of everybody, you're going to die. But my friend, he's doing it. My friend is also doing an Isser. She's insisting that she's tar, I know that she's not, so I'll just do whatever she does. That's how people are. They just follow like sheep what the other guy does, even though it's Asr.
Beracha has a line about Soita.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the Soita? She's all over town.
The problem is it's going to be Mechikas Hashem.
Yeah, we try to avoid Mechikas Hashem for no reason. Okay? I mean, we have this all the time. A guy says, why should I tell people that I learn on a plane? Why should I tell people I finish a Masechta? Because people are mushba, l'ra l'tayv. When you see it, and we see it all the time. Somebody went out there and said, I finished a Masechta on the plane. 12 people later, they're still finishing Masechta on the plane. People had no shaykhs. Why? If he does it, I could also do it. L'ra l'tayv. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, loy min Hashem uzeh. That's not the reason. Ela mishum shenemar v'hishka oisa levado. If you look at the pasuk, here I did a little arrow for you. The mapik case is the Ran. Oh, what's going on? You can see it? Fine. Over there. What that means is v'hishka means oisa. That hey, the mapik hey means her. Excuse me. Shenema v'ishka isa levada somemela. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we have mefurish in the pasuk that by soita dafka that you only give one woman to drink, not two. There's no raya from soita. Says the Mishnah. Daf Ein Gimel Amud Beis. The Mishnah happens to be sponsored by Yoel Friedman, Lili Nishmas, my dear father, Chaim Avram Shulam, Yerucham Ben Yisrael David Olav Hashalom. And Amud Beis is sponsored by Greg Haber for Beracha Parnassa HaTzlacha for his entire family and everyone learning the Daf. Second sponsor HaTzlacha for the members of HBA Group and their families. Says the Mishnah, Boigeres sheshas al 12 chodesh. So we already learned the sugya before. The Ram brings it down. You have to stick in a vav. Boigeres v'sheshas al 12 chodesh. What's frozen, Gary? That's it? Not YouTube or anything else. Okay, good. So it goes like this. Abigeres is a girl who's already 12 and a half years old. So as you see in this picture right over here, if she got married when she got engaged when she was 12 and a half years old, so she'll get a year. But typically, most people don't get engaged on their birthday. A naira could get a year. But a begeres, let's say, this is just an example, let's say she gets married or engaged on her 13th birthday. So she only has... Okay, let's go. Let's keep on going because we're almost at the end. Fine. Sorry, guys in Zoom. No, so that's what I'm saying. It's a minimum 30 days. It could be a year. It goes anywhere from a year to 30 days. Now, in the example that she got engaged when she's 13 years old, so she goes from 13 to a year after she's a begeres, which is 13 and a half. If she got engaged 2 months before she's 13 and a half, so she has 2 months. 30 days, 15 days before, no, she gets a minimum of 30 days. So the way it used to work, as we learned in the first Daf Yomi, they would get engaged in those days with kiddushin, with a ring, with money, and they wouldn't get married right away. Similar to what Hasidim do today, especially if you're getting engaged at a very young age. So you wait. You have to prepare for the wedding. Typically, they would wait for a year. Guy would go back to yeshiva and learn. She was still at her father's house, but she was engaged. She's Eishes for a year. What happens once the year is up is now the husband, the aros, has to pay mezainis. He has to support her. She can demand mezainis. Since right now he becomes chayiv to support her, so therefore he himself has the right to annul her nedarim, to do afar without the father. Up until now it was a shutfus between the father and the aros. Now he's by himself. Why? What are you going to say at the end? Because kol nedaris al das bailo nedaris. And Chachamim say, and it's interesting, the Ran says that anytime somebody argues the Rebbe Eliezer and Shas, it's Rebbe Yeshua. Okay, so the Chachamim means Rebbe Yeshua, says the Ran. They have to have chuppah, then he could be made for the Nedarim. So now we're talking about Nedarim. Now we're jumping to another thing. Rebbe Lezer and another place, another Mishnah say the same halacha. Now what? I think Gemara is going to say, no, perhaps it's not the same halacha. There's a big difference between the two. It's not. Again, this halacha that when a woman gets engaged, she has 12 months. So here's Truma, Rabbi Isai. We know the chart, a lot of us do. If a person has produce, he gets 2% of the Kayin, 10% of the Levi, then the Levi has to give, etc. Now, here's a very, very important halacha. When somebody becomes engaged to a Kayin, midaraisa, they could eat Truma. There's no problem. She could eat Truma. Why can't she eat Truma? We had this throughout Ksubas over and over and over. Simfine. Very good. Simfine. If he finds a mum, he didn't really date her, he doesn't know exactly, he finds a mum, then retroactively she was never engaged, and all the truma she ate was be'isr. Another thing that we always said over and over and over is Shema, she's going to be machil her brothers. She lives by her father's house, she gets boxes of produce, she's going to start giving it out to people that are Yisraelim. So the Rabbanan said no. But midiraisa she could eat. So, Rabbi Isai, because we did the Mario yesterday, we decided to waste 10 hours on this little tiny clip because it's me'inyin, it has no shaykhs to anything. But how do you depict in a game somebody eating chulin and then they eat truma? This is my mishuga. You have to be mishuga for this. Here, I'll just show you. This has no. You're not going to get better in the sugi by seeing this. What? The whole thing is crashed. No, so start it up. We're recording. It looks like to start out eating truma. Oh, this is something else. We'll do this, hold on. Oh, here we go. Top part is truma, the bottom part is chulin. I have no idea how this is gonna. It says, if you read English, whatever, those who read, the top says truma, and this is Pac-Man, and there's the chasanim are inside. These little guys blinking are chasanim, and the Miss Pac-Man, she's lachlucha, she's the wife, and here it goes. I have to tell you that he built the entire thing from scratch. Every line, it took him many, I don't know why, it gets him sugar. But one problem, big problem, the dots don't go away. If you know anything about Pac-Man. Oh, there's sound. It goes with sound there. Yeah. If you know anything about Pac-Man, it's interesting for them. It's Truma and Chulin. Truma and Chulin. Here's Lachluchas is eating Truma. Now she's eating Truma. She's on the Truma part. You don't chap the sugya?
This really explains it.
This is good.
Well, yeah, what about yesterday? That explain it?
Not much either. You're right. Leave the games out.
Okay, fine. We're trying. Get over here and clap your hands. Weiter. There's somebody in Lakewood that's laughing his head off right now. It's a Magachir somewhere. That this guy's going down with his games. Benny, what's going on? Okay, so what happened like this? We have to go back for a second, since we had technical difficulty. This is Yibum. If you don't remember, we have two brothers here. We have Reuven and Shimon, they're the Baldwin brothers. Reuven is married to Rachel, the Yerushalmi lady. And Reuven goes bye-bye. So Rachel literally falls to Yibum. She marries Shimon, or she gets Chalitza from Shimon. Now, it says like this. If Shimon is a Kayan, what's Reuven? The brothers from the same father. So Reuven has to be a Kayan. Even though her original husband was a Kayan, and now she's about to marry Shimon, but she didn't. She doesn't get Truma. Why? Because you have to be Kinyan Kaspai. You have to be, so to speak, his belonging. And she's not the Yavam's yet. And she's not her original husband's because he's dead. So she's in between. She doesn't get to eat Truma. She has to be married to a Kayan. Also, Shisha, Gary, I need a button for that also. Also, Shisha Chadashim b'fnei Abba v'Shisha Chadashim b'fnei Yavam. What if she was married to her husband for 6 months and she's waiting to be misyabim for 6 months? Or she was 364 days married and one day a Yavama, some Rishonim, the Rabbeinu Tam says you don't need 1 day, whatever. Machlokes if you need literally 1 day or even a whole year. By the point is, is it minus 1 day or not? The point is, right now she cannot eat truma because she's zakuk to the yavam. She's only waiting to be misyab. Zu Mishnah Rishayna. In other words, Rebbe Lezer from our Mishnah that says that after 12 months that a woman is engaged, she becomes like a nesua. She's not a real nesua. She never went into the chuppah, but because he has to buy her a house, he has to take care of her, give her mezainas, he can rent her a house, give her a place. We don't have a chashash anymore for simfai. We don't have a chashash that she's going to feed her brother. She's already on her own. That's truma. But Rebbe Lezer now Mishnah says that you may fear neder. You may fear neder after 12 months. You're like married. Over here also, same halacha, no? So after 12 months, she eats truma. Bezdin shalacherim here. Bezdin shalacherim omru. That's Mishnah Shoyna. No, so she if she fell libum, then she doesn't get. The bezin shacherim amru, you need a chuppah. So we have the same kind of halacha here. You have a woman who, after 12 months, becomes, we're not choshish anymore for truma. We're not choshish for simcha, we're not choshish for shematach l'achel. And by us, we have by Hafar's Nedarim, after 12 months, she becomes the chassan to be mefer. Only the chassan, he's mefer, not the father. What's the connection? Again, because as we started the sugya midiraisa, an engaged woman does eat truma. It's only a takana derabbanan she shouldn't eat because we're concerned simfon, etc. So we remove that concern. But what connection? A neder is something that you could only be made for midiraisa. The Torah has to tell you if you could or can't. You can't say, oh, she's almost married. It looks like she's married because it's already 12 months later. Doesn't work like that. There's a very good logical reason over here. Why is her husband, her Urus, able to be made for neder? Because she was neither the neder with him in mind. You hear? Once she gets mizainis and he starts taking care of her, he has to get her a place to live and this and that. So now every neder she makes, she has him. It's dependent on the husband. It's with his will, with his dependent on him. So the Ram brings here Rishonim, very interesting. There are Rishonim that say that if a woman has das on a stranger, she relies on her neighbor. Some Rishonim say that neighbor could be made for, and he says no way, and he says a very strong lashon. V'zu etzli shigigas hayra. A real mistake, you should know. Why? Because yes, we're like darshaning time of the crow over here. We're trying to explain what the Torah means, and it's because das kol nederes, so that's bail nederes. But that's only a tam in the pasuk. But this exeris hakasav that only a husband and a father can be made for. It's not only because of das nederes. Okay, hold on a second. I just don't want to miss this point. What about a Rabbanon kind of case? How do you have a marriage Rabbanon? If a mother married off her daughter, brothers married off her daughter, and she made a neder, is it al das the husband or not? Now we're talking about the Rabbanon. So the Ritva says, even though the neder is the deraisa and the marriage is the Rabbanon, he still could be mefer. Okay, weiter. We'll just finish this off. We could argue and say that truma is very different than a neder. Motsei, have a wonderful day. Have a great Shabbos. We'll see you Motsei Shabbos. There's a little bit of a Siyum here on Motsei Shabbos, a big one. Come one, come all. 7:45 / 8.
All right, listen.